The cost of debt or bonds for use in calculating weighted average cost of capital. When we talk about how much different sources of capital are costing our company, we would characterize the cost of long-term debt from bonds in the following fashion. This is very simple, but we would say that you simply take the yield of the bond, sometimes known as the yield to maturity or the market rate, and we multiply that times 1 minus the tax rate. It's all represented by this small formula up here. I will explain this. Other sources of capital, such as common stock and preferred stock, have a component called dividends. And dividends occur on the income statement after taxes have already been paid. So those two costs, preferred stock and common stock, are being represented on what we call an after-tax cost basis. If you consider debt, interest payments are actually made before taxes. So to fairly compare them, we need to adjust the cost of debt to an after-tax basis because you can deduct the interest rates associated with bond coupon payments. That actually has a tax advantage and lowers the effective cost of that particular source of funds. And so to compare it fairly with common and preferred stock, what we do is we adjust the cost of the bonds to an after-tax cost. And the way we do it is we multiply the yield times 1 minus the tax rate. In this example, we have a yield of 10% and a tax rate of 50%. So we'd multiply the yield of 10% times 1 minus the tax rate, or times 0.5, and we come up with an after-tax cost of the bonds in our company as being 5%. A quick note about the yield. One could argue that instead of using yield, we should be using coupon rate, since that's the actual money being paid out by the company. In most literature, the coupon rate is referred to as something called the historical cost of debt. And the prevailing theory is that it does not necessarily represent the truest cost of that debt in terms of today's marketplace, and that the yield is a better representation. So to be consistent with most financial theory out in the marketplace today, we will use yield as the cost of debt, and we'll adjust it for an after-tax cost basis by multiplying times 1 minus the tax rate, as you see done here.